All right, so let's call to order the regular council meeting here for the town of St. Andrews on Monday, March 4th, 2024, just slightly past 7 p.m. We are meeting at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex in the council chambers, but this meeting will be streamed via Zoom and Facebook. If anyone does have any questions related to this evening's agenda, you can contact pnopper at townofstanders.ca, and I'm sure it'll be put in the Facebook comments for anyone to have that email. Thank you, council. I see that all members are in attendance, so thank you for that. And I do want to recognize that we are on the unceded traditional territory of the Peskotomuhkati people. Approval of the agenda. I guess we'll get it out there, but I do have just a few things to add under new business, but let's get a mover and a seconder and then I'll introduce them. Councillor Harlan and seconded by Councillor Hurdle. Discussion on the agenda for myself. Staff asked if under new business, if we could add three items. One would be a conversation on a Prince of Wales water line by the Algonquin Resort. A conversation about the washrooms that would be towards the point along the trail system. And the last would be a slight change to the arena sign, in particular pertaining to the Heather Curling Club. So if I could have someone approve to amend that or a mover to amend that, I've got Councillor Heenan and seconded by Deputy Mayor Akaji. Any discussion on those amendments? Okay, all in favor of approving the amendments, please signify by saying aye. Perfect. And now we'll go back to the approval of the agenda itself. All in favor of approving the agenda, please signify by saying aye. And that has been completed. Thank you, council, for working through that. Disclosure of conflict of interest. I think I'm good tonight. Anyone else? Looks like we are. If anything pops up, just let me know. And we will jump into presentation. So Emma Keech, who is the Senior Resource Coordinator, Charlotte County Senior Resource Center. Welcome. And is the mic on for her, Mr. Spear?
We're green, so.
Green means go.
Okay.
There you go. The floor is yours. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me here tonight. So I'm here to talk about the Charlotte County Senior Resource Center. So I'd just like to introduce our team. So our team consists of Passamaquoddy Lodge, who plays a pivotal role in staffing operations, administrative oversight, and trustworthy knowledge of surrounding community resources and aging. Yolande J., who's our administrator at Passamaquoddy Lodge. Kristen Stevens, our Passamaquoddy Lodge chief financial accountant, who keeps us in business and pays the bills. Myself, Emma Keech, the senior resource coordinator of Charlotte County Seniors Resource Center. Carol Davidson, who is my resource coordinator assistant. Our steering committee, who consists of Passamaquoddy Lodge board members and stakeholders in the community, and our volunteers. So how did Charlotte County Seniors Resource come to be? A Nursing Home Without Walls initiative was started by Dr. Suzanne Dupree-Blanchard, a researcher at University de Moncton, who strived towards helping seniors to stay at home longer and minimize unnecessary emergency department visits. Through helping seniors access appropriate services and information, providing opportunities for socialization and access to education on aging and responding to the needs of the community. So Passamaquoddy Lodge, located in an age-friendly community, submitted a funding request to the Healthy Seniors Pilot Project in 2022 for the purpose of soliciting civic engagement for health among older adults, a strategy for aging in place. Considerable effort and commitment was devoted to this undertaking, and the ask resulted in an ask for a resource center is through that community research and engagement. So here we are. So about us, we are a non-medical service. There is absolutely no cost to the seniors to access these services. We're offering education sessions and in-person services to access social development programs. And our goal is to combat social isolation whilst helping seniors access existing resources, which will help them stay at home longer. So we are serving the whole of Charlotte County and the Fundy Isles. And recently, as word is spreading, we have received calls from Fredericton and McAdam. So this is a community-driven project. We are interested in gathering insights into the needs and preferences of seniors who aspire to age in place within their own homes. So our office is located at the St. Andrews Wellness Center. But the beauty of our program is if they can't come to us, we are more than happy to come to them. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank the town of St. Andrews for providing us with that space here at the Wellness Centre. So we've been operational since November 1st. And in that time, we've been helping seniors access the senior prescription drug plan, the dental program, vision program, health equipment loan programs, home adaptation programs, the low income senior benefit, and many more. We are serving clients and registered clients. Clients are those who are dropping off and calling for information on resources, and registered clients are those who we help with applications and keep them updated with new programs, services, education sessions as they become available. So we follow them. Registered clients receive a monthly newsletter, and as they become eligible for each program, we ensure they have the relevant information and help them applying if need. So we've also been acting as a social connector. There are many wonderful programs that already exist in Charlotte County and the Fundy Isles, and we're just working to inform and encourage seniors to attend different programs and events. We are recruiting volunteers for the Buddy program, pairing up volunteers with seniors to provide socialization and connection to their community. This can range from a telephone call to a cup of tea to a game of cards. We're just there to help foster that connection. And right now we're working on a project with a high school student, which will hopefully help with isolation, which is very exciting. So our center will be offering a variety of educational services, such as basic classes on computers, phone usage, guidance on preventing falls, teaching on health and well-being and mental wellness. We have our first session on Monday, the 18th. At 11:30 with mental health and resilience with Lisa Cheney with the Canadian Mental Health Association at the Garcelon Civic Centre. So under construction for year 2, we are looking at transportation of ways to get seniors to where they want to go and need to go, hiring more staff to serve Charlotte County and the Fundy Isles. So the word is spreading, and we are very busy, which is excellent. So anyway, thank you. That's it. And any questions?
Thank you very much. I think the good news is most of council is familiar with it, because when you were going to move at the Wellness Center, actually one of the first meetings I had was with yourself and Councillor Harlan. So I'm very fortunate to get the background before it even started. So with that being said, council will open up to questions. Quick question is there a number, like, is there a rough number of how many people have accessed the facility already?
Oh, golly. So we've actually got 40 registered clients, but that ranges from, they're located in Campobello, Graminan, Rolling Down. They're just everywhere, but the number of calls and people just dropping in have been, I couldn't keep track, but we've had several. And of course, every inquiry takes time to research it. So we're constantly busy.
Perfect. Yeah. And the other opportunity that comes to mind is I've been meeting regularly with the New Brunswick Community College. And one of the programs they're talking about is where students can actually live with seniors in our community. So there might be an opportunity for the community college, if they already haven't, to reach out to you as a resource for them as they explore that program. But they may have, for all I know. All right, council, any questions? Councillor Harlan.
Thanks, Emma. It was a great presentation. I am a member of the steering committee, and I think it is important for us to understand that the number of registered clients is important and significant. However, there's an even larger pool of clients. Those are people who drop in, who have questions, who need information. The staff are connecting them to services, but they may not become a registered client. That service, that particular part of the resource, I don't think any of us fully understood how significant that piece was going to be. Although when you think of it, I mean, how we framed it was a resource center. And so, of course, you know, in hindsight, we can say, yes, of course, people think about it as a drop-in place. I have a question, I go there. Our front door directs people down the yellow line to Emma and Carol. You know, so I think that as a steering committee, we have had to look at that, and we have had to sort of make changes and adjustments. And as a result, are having to look at budget requirements to support the critical need for this piece of the resource. We've even had people who are, coming to St. Andrews to meet somebody for lunch. They're coming from St. Stephen, but they're stopping at the resource center. Those kinds of things are really critical. Having a space is really important. So they're a wonderful addition to the wellness center.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor Harland. Any other member of council? Councillor Ware?
Yeah, I'm just curious as to what consultation is being done with the seniors as to what they perceive their needs to be. I've sat here at the table last meeting and listened to a couple of gentlemen discuss seniors in the new building down by the community college. I sit and listen to it. Nobody asked my opinion, but I do believe I'm a senior citizen. If born in 1950 makes you a senior citizen. But I think sometimes we take it upon ourselves to determine what people want and need rather than going to them and really talking to them about it.
So a lot of the calls I get is normally, I have this problem, what can I do? And what are the resources available? So they're actually coming to me with the problem, and then I'm just letting them know of their options. And this is community driven. So, we're letting the seniors guide us to what the things they need to know and going from there.
Thank you. Any other member of council? All right. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate the update.
Thank you.
All right, council, we have some minutes to approve. The first would be the minutes of the 23:02:05 regular council meeting on Monday, February 5th, 2024 at 6:30 PM. You're looking for a mover to approve those minutes. I've got Councillor Blanchard, seconded by Councillor Heenan. Any changes to those minutes? Okay, that was a wave, eh? All in favor of approving those minutes, please signify by saying aye. That has been carried. And the minutes of the 24:02:20 regular council meeting, which is Tuesday, February 20th, 2024 at 6:30 PM. Once again, a mover for those minutes. Got Deputy Mayor Akage and seconded by Councillor Harland. Any changes to those minutes? Okay, all in favor of approving those minutes, now signify by saying aye. That's everybody. Those minutes have also been adopted. So we do have 3 communications. I'll go through them fairly quickly, but they are all very important. The first was probably the brightest and maybe cutest request that we've had maybe under communication. Certainly the brightest, but it is a request for us to support the Mayor's Monarch pledge. And if I go ahead to it, give me one quick sec. Basically we've got a number of letters that are addressed to individuals as well as all of us that the students drew up with nice pictures, but over the last 7 years, 3rd graders from Pine Springs Academy, which is in North Carolina, have gotten 14 mayors in 13 towns and cities to sign the Mayor's Monarch Pledge, and they were hoping to expand internationally to Canada to us. So they've asked us to basically sign up for the Monarch Pledge. So if you do want to support this, I know that Mr. Knopper will come back with the official proclamation. There's a number of things that are listed, if you see in your council package. I don't know, we don't necessarily have to do all of them, or do we have to do all of them? It's quite an extensive list. They're all very important, but it's 3 total is what it was. Okay. So yeah, I think we could probably do 3, but council looking for some consensus if you'd like to support the I guess we call it the Mayor's, what they call it, the Mayor's Monarch Pledge.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to add a couple of things here, if I could. First of all, I've been talking to Miss Katie Thompson. For those of you who are not aware, Miss Katie Thompson, even though she's a teacher down south at the preparatory school, she's also a summertime resident here. Her and her husband and family, they have a cottage out in Bocabec. And they're very familiar with St. Andrews. She grew up, she's from Rolling Dam originally. And she pointed out the fact that like in our Kingsbury Gardens, that you guys already have a milkweed planted and for the monarchs and stuff. So many of the things that's on the list for us to do, she's already pointed out that we've already have that. So it's a pretty easy one to do, and this is not a request just from some foreign land that has no connection to us. That it is actually from a summertime resident, somebody that's from here. So I think that's an important thing, and I love the fact what the kids did in sending the letters. Miss Alexandra and Preston wrote wonderful letters to me, and I'll cherish them. They're wonderful, and I think it's a great thing for the teacher to be engaging her students with such a wonderful activity. Thank you.
Thank you. That's good to definitely make the connection now. I do know that we're along the route, so maybe that's why I thought originally that we were selected, but there's a connection there as well. In addition to Kingsbury, I just want to give a shout out to Mary Craig. For those of you that don't know Mary Craig, she actually raises monarch butterflies every single year, and with her grandson Brady, they actually release them in the community, and they've been doing it for quite a few years. And so there's a little bit more monarch information. Deputy Mayor Akaji.
There's also a group in St. Stephen that raise and release the monarch butterflies and have been doing that for several years. So our Charlotte County connection, I think, is opted to help, quite strong for the monarch butterfly.
Yeah, there's also a gentleman there that tags them. I don't know much about that process, but it's got to be a very light tag, but they've done them all over the area, including over in Grand Manan, because they migrate there as well. Councillor Blanchard.
Yeah, no, just to say that I'm 100% in support of this initiative. I think it would be great. I'd also like to suggest, like I said, there are a number of recommendations here, but we do have some green spaces in town. I'd love to see the community look to incorporate milkweed or other pollinator, type plants within some of our green spaces to try and, tie things together. That would be a good initiative as well.
Councillor Ware.
Well, I'm 100% for it. Most of you know I'm a licensed guide, but I've been out in the woods in the spring, breeding time, I guess, for them, and witnessed 2,000 of them in an area the size of this council table. And the sad part is to go back next morning and there's just thousands of wings laying there. Some birds swooped in and had a great meal. But they are wonderful, wonderful to see out in the wild and to experience one of these breeding spots. And they come back every year to the same spot to do their thing. But I just wish at the time I had had a cell phone with me that I could have taken a picture of it. It was just, I can't describe it, what it was like.
Thank you so much, Councillor Ware. All right, well, I think maybe we'll just officially just get consensus. How many would like to support this particular pledge? I think that's everybody. So that one's good to go. So we'll follow up that with a proclamation we should do anyway, and then maybe we'll meet back and highlight a couple off
It
the
has to be
list.
done for the 18th because it has to be done before the 31st.
For the 31st, okay. All right, the next one is from the Chair of Age Friendly Community Committee. She was here earlier, Caroline Davies. It's regarding the 2024 budget request. So they did give us a letter that updated us on a number of initiatives that they were part of in 2023, which range from a hop-on, hop-off bus, which we know through Huntsman Marine Center, housing projects, outdoor exercise equipment, bathroom proposed in the point area, information regarding AFC. These are all things in our community that ties into age-friendly participation in the Healthy Seniors Pilot Project. The town continues to work with Coastal Link Trail and Sortie and supported the bike rodeo put on by Vincent Massey Elementary School, and then pickleball at the New Brunswick Community College, to name a few. Basically, there's $10,000 allocated every year towards age-friendly communities. They've highlighted 5 projects that they're very passionate about. The support for the bike rodeo that's put on by Vincent Massey Elementary School and the RCMP, and I think they should have mentioned Councillor Gumashell as well. Support the community lunches at the Anglican Church Hall, which you've actually made support for as well, and support the renovation of the kitchen of the Seniors Youth Center so it can be better used for both seniors and youth, as seniors are going to be using that during the daytime now as well. And support initiatives develop the Mental Wellness Forum held in St. Andrews, which was just happened this past February. specifically education, and support the upgrading purchasing of equipment in the community kitchen at the WC O'Neill Arena. So they have about 5,000 operating costs, but they're hoping that money can be relocated towards those projects. So I think right now it's just communication, no decision before us tonight, because a lot of those will come up.
You're correct, your worship, but in the past, the practice has more or less been to let them
Let them spend it where they want.
and they're just kind of advising you. They work with staff on kind of what the key initiatives of council and
Okay,
stuff
they
are.
looked
So
through my office and they said, we appreciate being advised, so they're gonna advise us.
Yeah.
So that works for me, right? So it is the committee's funds to do as they see fit.
Your worship, maybe Councillor Harlan would like to speak to it as she was attending the Age Friendly.
Absolutely.
It was, thank you, Mr. Knopper. It was great in terms, great discussion at our last meeting when we were trying to pare down the initiatives that we would spend put our money towards. There are a number of initiatives, so many initiatives within the community, but we only have 10,000 and we really wanted to focus it. I have to say I was very pleased and humbled that the committee agreed to provide some money toward the mental wellness forum. Not all the committee members that the organizing committee even knew about that yet. We haven't had a chance to meet yet. So that's very exciting. So I think this really provides a focus for us as an age friendly, and we look forward to going forward.
Thank you. All right, and then the last one, council, is from James Geneau, St. Andrews Civic Trust. It's looking for a request for support at the National Trust of Canada's Next Great Save Contest. So he sent a letter to us. He's looking for support from the town for Civic Trust as they're trying to it's basically a contest. He gives a reference to similar like those hockey town ones, but it is the next great save. And in particular, as we all know, the storms had some impact on Pendlebury Lighthouse. So they're hoping to use this program and they're looking for some support, which I assume will be just a letter of support from the town. Just looking for consensus that that's okay. I didn't even know about the program, so I appreciate them bringing it to my attention. So I can't see anyone being opposed to that, but unless there's something I'm not seeing. Okay, I'll write a letter on behalf of the town for that, if that works for you as well. Anyone on that one? Okay, we're good. Okay, staff report, over to you, Mr. Spear.
thank you, your worship, and thank you, council. Happy March, everyone. We mostly made it through the winter with lots of wind and rain, but not a lot of snow. The good news is spring is coming soon, and with no snow, we should be into our gardens early this year. Council, the first town-sponsored mental health forum was held on Sunday, February 25th, with close to 70 people attending. From all accounts, a productive conversation was held. Inspired by Matthew Dickinson and organized by Councillors Harland, Neal, and Hurdle, it was an opportunity to discuss challenges and needs faced by those with mental health difficulties and to discuss mental wellness. A follow-up report is expected from the organizers with an early expectation of a committee set up to explore initiatives to address this broadening issue. Before council tonight is the agreement with CBCL Limited to move forward with the design phase of the Wharf project. Design is anticipated to take 90 days with tendering in early August, construction slated to start in mid-October and ending in late May of next year. An updated estimate will be provided at design completion and all permitting will be taken care of as well. The first draft of the municipal plan background report was presented to council by our planner, Xander Gopin, a couple of weeks ago. He will be engaging specific stakeholder groups over the next few weeks and then going to broader community consultation later in the spring throughout Bayside, Chamcook, and St. Andrews. This process works best with high resident engagement, and we will work on a communication strategy to ensure these sessions are widely known. We'll also be creating a recreational master plan this year, which follows a similar consultation process, but is somewhat less intense. On tonight's agenda, council is proposing to continue flat rate billing in the utility until just about all dysfunctional meters and readers are replaced. We have made great progress on them, but due to multiple staff being out over several months and significantly higher number of needed replacements, we still have many more to go. All that said, we anticipate finishing this up in the spring, so most customers will go to metered billings at the same time. Administration. The proposed washroom at the point had a snag as the quotes were significantly more than the $140,000 budget. The project was to be financed through council's portion of the tourism accommodation levy, and we still have sufficient funds to carry it through. We will provide an update at the next meeting in March and a recommendation on whether to move it forward or not. And actually, it's discussed, it's on the agenda tonight. The tender for the Van Horn Trail extension is ready to go out and will close on March 19th. We will review the proponent's pricing and present it to council at the first meeting in April for the award of the project. Hopefully, it'll be ready for use by July 1st. We have closed the competition for the receptionist position and will begin interviews this week. After a few years of declining interest in our various positions, we had over 80 applications, with a dozen making the initial shortlist, and we will interview 5 to 6. The composting study previously approved by council is well underway, and we have met with the consulting team on our expectations. They will provide a comprehensive report on multiple options for starting an initiative on integrating composting, but the reality is many of them will be financially unfeasible. That said, there is a potential for 1 or 2 choices that could work if council wants to invest in them in the future. The study is being fully paid by the New Brunswick Environmental Trust Fund and addresses a community interest. We have also had meetings on the energy study, mostly paid for by the Green Fund of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. The initial study was only for 5 high energy use facilities, but the tender award was 50% less than anticipated. So we are requesting if we can expand the study to include a few more buildings. The next meeting of the proposed lobster holding facility is scheduled for March 13th in the Arena Dining Room, so next Wednesday. This is a continuation of the last meeting that PAC held on this matter on January 29th, and there should be minimal presentations by the public. This is now the opportunity for the committee to discuss, debate, and ask questions to the applicant and the planners as they take this application under consideration. In late February, staff had to repair a series of water main leaks. One of the leaks is because of an old valve that is malfunctioning after decades of use. The line services under high pressure, and if it ever blows, hundreds of gallons a minute will flow out of it, potentially undermining the road. To replace it, several blocks around the Algonquin Hotel will need to be without water on March 12th. Once we have confirmed that we are proceeding, letters will be provided to households anticipated to be affected several days in advance. Under services, our seasonal jobs are once again available for students, both university and high school. We've gone to job fairs at the NBCC, both in St. Andrews and St. John, as well as participating in another one in St. Stephen. We have many returning from last year, but are still looking to fill a few slots. Council has also agreed to manage the Visitor Information Center for 2024, and staff are preparing a competition for this position that'll go out this week. We have had a couple of people already show interest who would seem a good fit for the position, so it should be easy to fill. The plan is still to operate out of the office in front of the arena. It should be noted that this is going to be the long-term home for it. The arena washroom should be refurbished in 2025. The weather was on our side last week as the storm had a minimal effect on our town. That said, some of the inland communities in the province ended up with localized flooding and ice buildup because of the quick drop in temperatures. We are certainly empathetic with them as we all struggle with the realities of the intensifying storms and aging infrastructure to deal with it. It was a busy month for the recreation manager as he went through the ActiveNet implementation, which was quite intense, but is now up and running. After a few weeks of internal use, we'll make it available to the public to review events and have the ability for some reservation making. Staff were able to land a $25,000 New Horizon grant that will be used to partially refurbish the youth centers so that can be used as a multi-generational center moving forward. That might be wrong, but with the prime user. Planning is also underway for summer long day camps to be hosted in the arena. Conclusion, we are continuously evaluating our recreation needs, and with the addition of the manager of recreation, there are new programs and events every month. The town relies on volunteers to execute many of the initiatives, but we are happy to assist with the organizing and providing advice and occasionally some financial assistance. With spring almost here, we'll also be coming out of hibernation and looking forward to recreating in the great outdoors. Respectfully submitted, Chris Spear. And your worship, I was just on the New Horizon grant. was typing it without Paul being there, so maybe he could just elaborate what it's actually for.
So your worship, so the New Horizon grant's actually going to be, well, it was to create a seniors pilot project to use the youth center as a common space in the mornings, and the afternoons and the evenings it would still be for the youth center. The goal was to have some intergenerational programming between the seniors and the youth, but about half the funds are actually going to go to renting the hop on, hop off bus through fall, winter, and spring, and rental of the Garcelon Center for swimming. So we'll be able to actually offer low cost or free swimming program to residents who want to sign up. And then funds will be spent as well for honorariums for speakers. So looking at mental wellness or looking at aspects of crime prevention, spam. Like there's a lot of opportunity there, but it was really how can we use a facility that's we thought could be used or further utilized within the community, and that's where a little bit of the funds will actually go towards buying of fridges for senior groups there, and we're looking at doing a little bit of renovation to the kitchen area to make it accessible for both youth and seniors in the community. And just another PS note, we actually received an email prior to the meeting here from FCM actually acknowledging we are allowed to do 10 buildings in our green energy study for net zero. So we got approval to continue with 10 buildings versus 5.
Oh, nice. Perfect. Well, those are good updates. Anything else? No, I appreciate that. That's all.
Bank's
great
getting
stuff.
too full. They've asked us to slow down.
And I do know the auditors are in this week as well. So as far as the financials, we're getting closer to kind of that whole process concluding now. Is there anything you want to add on that though for financials?
I guess I had mentioned to council earlier, I presented financial statement at January or February meeting for the end of December. And there's a couple of grants that came in that we had to, the fancy word is accrue, but basically shown the year before. And it's going to increase our surplus. It'll be used towards income in 2025 to help reduce taxes or whatever council wants to do. So it's a little bit of a change there. We prepared the monthly report. It's so early in the year, it's really hard to say too much about it, except that we're about $10,000 ahead in our snow budget with the lack of snow, which is good. We would be more, except those storms with the wind took quite a beating, and we had to do a lot of bit of work around those and tree removal and stuff.
It's been 3 years in a row with very little snow, but I guess even though we had little snow, there was a lot of ice 2 years ago, so it kept it just a little coating, kept them busy. But good to hear that we're in a surplus situation when it comes to that.
It should be noted too, Your Worship, if you don't mind, sorry, just real quick on a follow-up to that is that we are checking the lake levels every year, and sometimes people are concerned that with the lack of white precipitation, we're going to be trouble with the water tables. But from what we're seeing, that isn't a problem. If you remember, it rained and rained and rained last summer. And so probably over an year-over-year basis, we're probably right on target. It seems that we've turned into like a Florida where you just have a shortened period of getting a lot of rain through the summer and fall, and then the winters seem to be a little bit drier, but we'll see how that goes.
I did have a resident talk to me today though about lack of snow means probably pretty dry woods pretty quick, and we know what happened last year, so we'll see what the temperatures do. But there's not one thing for sure is we are getting a lot less snowfall the last 3 years. Councillor Ware.
Yes, with respect to the lake, there's been a tremendous amount of erosion on the north end. I don't know what the residents are going to do. Had a couple discussions, meetings with them. Over there last week, we talked about further north, they got the storm bad. There was a 6-foot wall of ice on the shore, on the north shore of the lake, from the water coming up across, washing up and freezing during that quick freeze we had. And it was, I've never seen it in my life. Most people hadn't. It was just a natural phenomenon. So, but there is tremendous amount of damage, and the residents are going to be hard pressed to repair it, given the environmental laws and rules that apply to the lake. They don't want any stone put in the lake. So, it's just disappearing. The land is getting smaller every year. So,
Councillor Mr. Spear had a comment on that.
Yeah, and Thank you for bringing that forward, Councillor Weir. I guess one thing to let people know too is we get a lot of people saying, well, you gotta take out the boards to the dam, to increase the flow. They haven't been in there for years. That it's short of rebuilding the dam and creating a larger duct. There's nothing more we can do as far as
No.
releasing more water. That, the gating mechanism has been wide open for a long time now. So we're very sympathetic, but the town isn't withholding any more water than it possibly can.
No, it's weather conditions.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions on the staff reports or financial reports? Okay, I'll be looking for a mover to accept the reports as presented. Got Councillor Hurl, seconded by Councillor Blanchard. All in favor of accepting the staff reports and financial report, please signify by saying aye. So everybody, those are accepted. We're now moving ahead to the introduction, consideration, passing of bylaws and motions. We will start under Finance Administration Committee with Deputy Mayor Akaji. And just note that in your agenda, it says first and second to reading. It's actually third reading. So I think it says that in the background of the motion itself anyway.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. The number is FA 240211. And the background is this, bylaw number 24-01, Chief Administrative Officer, bylaw third and final reading. And the background is this. With local governance reform that took place in 2023, the Local Governance Act, Section 81, provides the Chief Administrative Officer with the powers and duties that council prescribes by bylaw or resolution. Each municipality is encouraged to create a Chief Administrator Office bylaw reflective of their community. Provided with this report is a draft copy of the bylaw number 24-01, Chief Administrator Officer bylaw for the town of St. Andrews. This bylaw received first and second reading on Monday, February the 5th, 2024. Council can now move to third and final reading. So the action is this: that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews grants leave for the third and final reading to bylaw number 24-01, Chief Administrator Officer bylaw. And I so move this, Your Worship.
Thank you. Can we have a seconder to get that up? Oh, we've got Councillor Heenan. Discussion on this one. I don't think we had any communication since first and second reading, or at all for that matter. Okay, if there's no discussion, all in favor of going to third reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's everybody. Here we go. This is the bylaw number 24-01, the powers and duties of the Chief Administrative Officer for the town of St. Andrews by title. 1 is authority, 2 definitions, 3 appointments, 4 relationship between the council, the Chief Administrative Officer, and the employees of the town. 5 is roles and responsibilities. 6 is performance evaluation. 7 is enactment. It was read the first time the 5th day of February 2024, read the second time the 5th day of February 2024, and read the third and final time the 4th day of March of 2024. Next one, we're going over to Councillor Bennett for Public Works and Public Safety.
Thank you, Your Worship. Reference number PWP S 240201. The subject amendment A-5 to bylaw 19-07 water and wastewater bylaw. The background reads: At the 240220 regular council meeting, it was decided to continue with flat rate billing until all faulty water meters have been replaced. We currently sit at around 200. We are working diligently to get those replaced and be fully compensation-based billing in the fall. It should be noted that most residents will not see a dramatic decrease in their bill because of this billing. It's 2 parts, standby and water used. As requested by council, a 5% increase for all users have been initiated on this new schedule. As this is the schedule change to the bylaw, it is only required 1 reading of council. The action reads: that the council of the town of St. Andrews approves of water and wastewater rate changes as outlined in amendment A-5 to bylaw number 19-07, a bylaw related to water systems, water rates, wastewater systems, and wastewater rates. and I so move.
Thank you, Council Bennett, seconder for that one. Councillor Harland, discussion? Tell you all of our projects are up over 5% on that for anything that we've needed to accomplish, unfortunately. Okay, if I'm not seeing one, I will call the question. All in favor?
Your worship, I just,
Yep.
maybe, people with the cost increases and stuff may be a little upset about it, but it should be noted that we are still in the lower 50% of the utility rate billings across New Brunswick. And we will review them probably later this year, early next year, because of the infrastructure replacements that need to be done. But we're still more than competitive, for even neighboring communities.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. Okay, call the question. All in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye. It's everybody. So do I read this whole thing? I don't even have to read it by title. We're good because it's
Because it's a schedule, you don't have to
Schedule.
read it.
okay, just making sure. If anyone would like to get a copy of it, it will be available at Town Hall and on the website as well.
Correct.
All right, thank you, council, for that one. I think the next one actually isn't a motion, it's a discussion. It's on the solid waste pickup for Chamcook, number 3, which is PWPS 240307. I think we'll go over Mr. Spear. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Give a quick
Thank you,
walk
Worship.
down. I know Councillor Bennett's been, or Councillor Ware rather, has been involved with this one as well with some discussions. So
Mhm.
I'll be looking for your guidance as well.
So council, to bring you up to date, there's been an ongoing problem at Chamcook Line Road number 3 in Bayside for a long, long time. Many years ago, they decided instead of doing roadside pickup, they installed like one of those large blue garbage bins, like in the public works yard, for residents to deposit their garbage in, and then they'd empty it out once in a while. From my understanding, and I could be wrong about this, but it was primarily because there were a lot of seasonal residents there who weren't available on pickup day. So it allowed them the opportunity to, to put their garbage somewhere. But for a long time now, there's been a whole bunch of illegal dumping going over there, both commercial and residential. So people that, it looks like there's restaurants potentially for some of the stuff that was left there being dumped into it. There's garbage left over from renovations, possibly from a contractor and not just someone local. And also created the problem is that the stuff was blowing in, it was overfilling the bin and it was blowing into the woods. And unfortunately, many of the residents were putting it upon themselves to go in and clean up. And so, which isn't fair to them. And on top of everything else, the bin's actually on private land. And so the landowner's been gracious about it, but they're probably starting to, would like to see it cleaned up. On top of that, DNR is starting to have some concerns because there's some varmints coming, some little varmints like rats and raccoons, and some big varmints like a family of bears that is feasting out there. And so and so from a human standpoint, it's dangerous. But from DNR, who are more looking after the animals as their mandate, they said if they get too used to that, that'll be their expectation for their feeding habits. And it could take 2 or 3 generations before they learn to hunt again, if you will, or forage on their own like traditionally. So DNR's got a problem. And the Department of Environment is saying it's on the verge of being like a transfer station, if you will, that it's getting a little too big and a little too much being left there. And so they'd really look for us to find an alternate solution. So we talked with the official collector, Southern Sanitation, as well as DTI, and DTI says Chamcook number 3 is maintained right to the end of it, and that there's sufficient turnaround space for a large vehicle to get a go around there. And so we think we can go to traditional curbside pickup there. We have to notify the residents, probably give them a few. There may be a few that are against it, but we think, it's not an either or. We think we have to move to this, and maybe Councillor Weir can give your agree or not on that. He's been more intimately involved. I've had a couple of conversations, but I think he's had several with the residents out there. The only thing is there's some offshoot roads that are off Chamcook number 3, Chamcook line number 3, that are private, that the people will have to either make their own arrangements or bring their garbage bins to the corner. And which might be a little harder, but it's really no different than what they're doing now by loading it into a vehicle and bring it up to the bin. So I would like your okay. It doesn't really have to be by motion, I don't think, because it's a contract that is actually being managed by the province. It's still under Service New Brunswick for this year. But that we'd like to tell them that council's okay with going to the roadside pickup, and that we'll work with them to issue letters to advise the residents on when this will be happening. and be able to move forward and hopefully eliminate this problem as best we can.
Thank you, Mr. Bear. Councilor Ware, anything you want to add to that?
Yes, I received a call last week. One of the residents, asked, how often do you check that bleeping camera? The garbage is worse now than it was during the summer. Of course, I had no answers. I did check the garbage. It is bad. DNR didn't want to get involved last summer because it would trap bears, but they were all for getting involved in December. The bears going into hibernation. Well, guess what? The bears are back out, and the garbage is all up through the woods. There was a car with Nova Scotia plates dumping stuff in there last Saturday. It's up to overflowing. The curbside pickup on Chamcook number 3, and I'm counting the houses mentally. I think there's 4 houses, 3 very near the garbage bin, and then one way over by the brook between the 2 lakes, Little Chamcook and Chamcook Lake. So by putting in curbside pickup, we're not going to really accomplish anything. The garbage in the dumpster comes from, it's called Lakeside Drive. There's at least 4 year-round residents in there, and then another 7 during the summer who take up permanent residence for the summer. The youngest would be a gentleman in his early 60s who has had quadruple bypass surgery. The remainder are in their 70s and 80s. So it's at least 1 kilometer from the dumpster to the end of that roadway. So what we're doing is asking a group of senior citizens, almost all of whom are older than me, that's possible, to, bring the garbage bins out up to 1 kilometer in the morning to be picked up. I only have a little over half 1 kilometer, and I take my SUV in a trailer, and I take the trailer down and leave it beside the road. Everybody says it's going to be stolen, and eventually it will be. But what more can I do? And that's fine with me. But I don't think we can ask these seniors to, get your neighbor, bring it over. Your neighbor may be 83 years old. So, one lady lives here in town during the winter, lives out there during the summer. I think she's 87. I went over and helped put a deck on for her, and she gave me a bottle as a gift for it. But, we have a unique group of people there. They're all seniors. They're all in their 70s and 80s. And we have to come up with a solution, I think, that's fair to those people. They are taxpayers. They're not all in the same physical condition I'm in, that they can haul garbage with the trailer and all that type of thing. And I don't know what the solution is. I honestly don't. I volunteered to go over and shoot the bear, but it's too close to one of the houses. So, then I'm breaking the law on firearms. We know what that's like in Canada. So it's a mess, a true mess. It's garbage, and I don't know what the solution is. I've scratched my head and I've talked to them, and they just feel slighted, I guess would be the gentle word used for it. And I don't know what the answer is. And I don't think any of us here have an answer off the top of our head, so. That's the situation we're in.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is this solution may not be ideal for all residents, but status quo is also not great for all residents, so it kind of leaves us in a little bit of a bind. Are garbage bins allowed in the rural areas? I know in the municipality you can't put you're not allowed to build a garbage bin, right? But are you allowed to build one in Chamcook and Bayside areas right now with the current?
I'd have to check. I'm assuming so, because as you drive up either side of 127, about every other house has one. So if they aren't allowed, they're not enforcing it. But depending what that looks like, if they leave it up where, in a unsupervised area with one big garbage bin, it's just gonna be the same thing with the blue bin.
Yeah.
If they're just,
True, but if you had a garbage bin by the end of the road, at least you could put it out on collection day versus leave it out at the end of the road the whole time. And I know that's not ideal, but I don't hear a better solution than that right now. You put it into, you store it somewhere in your own property that's secure and then put it out the day of collection, and it's less likely that a bear, doesn't mean that the bears aren't conditioned to know. The crows certainly are in town, I'll tell you that. But in the old town, yeah, over to you.
One solution we did look at was to have Southern Sanitation drop off the dumpster in the morning and pick it up later in the day. They're not very keen on that, and I suspect the cost would be very substantial to do that.
Hauling in and out, yeah, every week.
So
but that wouldn't necessarily help the residents along Lakeshore Drive though, would it? Because they still have the problem of bringing their
they'd
stuff up.
still have to bring it out. They wouldn't have to bring a bin out because if they bring out their garbage in a garbage bag, and I know this from personal experience, if I take it down the end of my driveway without putting it on my trailer without a tarp over it, I come down, the garbage is everywhere. The crows and the seagulls and everything it's a buffet for them.
Counselor Heenan?
Just a point, with all due respect, Counselor Weir. I've experienced all of these things in St. John for a great number of years with a senior mother of 90 living alone. And it was either she put her recycling in her car and her garbage in her car and take it down to the recycle, or it didn't get done. And the city didn't really care. And the unfortunate part is she did it each and every week. And my mom was in fairly good health. But as far as like you saying about putting a garbage bag at the end of your road, if I put a garbage bag at the end of my road in the town plat, it's torn apart. So that exists everywhere, not just in Chamcook, Bayside, but even in town, because I've come home to messes thinking I can sneak it in, but it doesn't work because they'll tear it all apart. So as I said, the garbage issue, I've gone through it in St. John, and that was what they were told. Didn't matter if you were a senior, didn't matter, this is what's offered, and you have to make do. You have to get your family to do it, or you have to do it yourself. And that's basically what it turns out to be, because it's a situation that's not getting any better.
But the problem is you can take your garbage bin, which is on wheels, and drag it out the end of your driveway. Would you want to drag it a kilometer each way?
Well, my friends that live here by Tim Hortons, they do. And they're seniors. They live way down in the field. They bring it up.
I don't know. I'm certainly not going to drag it down my hill and drag it back up empty.
But is it, we can't have it our responsibility for these folks to just be able to put it out at their dooryard. I mean, there comes a point that we can't change the rules for 4 or 5 residences. I'm sorry, but you just can't do that.
So I'll go to you one sec, Counselor Bennett. So Counselor Ware, just to summarize, the status quo you'd prefer over the bin option. We keep going back to the drawing board and hopefully have a new solution.
Well, I'm hoping we come up with a solution.
Okay, so just because in fairness to staff, I can't see them staking out, waiting for people to illegally dump. We just don't have the resources, and I just, cameras are only so good. We take questions at the end from the public. Okay, the mic will be open at the end. Counselor Bennett.
Thank you, your worship, and thank you very much, Councillor Weir. I certainly appreciate the situation there, because I'm living the same situation on our road. The only thing is, it's nowhere near as bad. And I do think it's important to point out to everybody that our mill rate in the wards in Bayside and Chamcook, we pay for curbside garbage pickup, especially on the private roads. We pay for that service, although we don't receive it. So having to, and something that I live and all my neighbors live, we have to drag our bins up the icy roads in the wintertime that aren't maintained and aren't sanded and salted like what you guys have inside the city, the towns and stuff. And we have to bring it to the central garbage location. It's great if you got a half ton and you're young enough to throw the big bins up on your truck and take it in. I certainly feel for the seniors who aren't able to do that, and most of them drive little cars, you know, and a lot of the seniors in my community, there's a couple on my road that don't winter drive at all. So you know, if it's not for the neighbors helping them, it just doesn't get done. Unfortunately, there's not some young fellows out there helping your neighbor or the neighbors in this community. I don't know what the solution is, but they are paying for curbside garbage pickup, so that's important to note.
Thank you, Counselor Bennett. All right, council, so what's your pleasure on this? Staff came forward with a recommendation. I'm here with the council where it might not be the one that is desired. So if we don't have this and no one has a better solution, then we'll keep looking and brainstorming and open up to the public, which the mic will be open later. But it'll be status quo. Quite frankly, it'll be status quo like it has been for a number of years until this gets sorted out, unfortunately. So council, unless anyone feels that we should go ahead with the blue bin, or not the blue bins, but the garbage, I guess you could say curbside in this case, but some driveways are very long and private roads are very long. Then it will just continue as it has been. And whether it be in Chamcook, Bayside, or anywhere, you have an unlocked bin, garbage bin, illegal dumping will happen. It does.
Just a point, your worship, too, is that we're being asked by the province to comment. So I can go back with the concerns if council chooses to leave it as is, but they're being forced a little bit internally to change situation around. So I'm sympathetic to everybody, but it's well, go back and see if they can maintain.
I did as well ask, what about a lock for residents in the area? But the lock doesn't work, freezes. The next thing you know, people are throwing it outside the bin, and you could actually make the problem significantly worse, right? Because everyone's had a lock in the winter knows how they freeze, right?
And I
Okay.
know why the province is causing a problem is the residents. I've been talking about this since June of last year. And in November, they got together and decided. I was over there that night. They made, and the next day the phone call was made to the Department of Environment, and a complaint was filed with the Department of Environment that it's unsightly premises. It was public dumping. It was everything it could be, and I assume that's when the call came in, and DNR and town staff decided to put the camera up, but. You know, at that point in time, the contractors had shut down and the bears were in hibernation, but that didn't seem to last as long this year with the mild winter we've had. So it's all come back.
Okay, we'll keep going. Councillor Hurdle.
Just a quick question. Is there any reason that would stop us from locking it and providing a key to the residents? Oh, no, sorry. Yeah,
That's okay.
I was thinking.
They often freeze. People lose keys, and the next thing you know, they're just throwing it outside the bin altogether. Because that's the first thing I thought of. But
my next question is, right now they're taking it to the bin, right? And how far away is the bin from their home?
Up to a kilometer.
But if they're taking their own garbage out to the end of their driveway, curbside, is it more complicated or less complicated?
Well, it's a private road, and Southern will not go in that road.
Okay,
They've refused to.
so they have to take it further in that case. Okay. Yeah.
We can talk to the Southern to see about, there's a couple of those roads they said they will attempt, but they do have to have the ability. But even with the road, that, you know, we're talking about curbside pickup and paying for it. There has to be a minimum road standard for that to take place. I mean, that's in all the contracts too. It's just, you know, you don't want to send a big dump truck and some of them aren't in the greatest of shape and get stuck down to their axles. So that's part of the problem too, or this time of the year, getting mud and stuff.
Can do more damage to the roads than help them. Okay, yes, this has been the long one.
Yeah. Just a quick question in terms of how often does it get dumped every week?
Well, the contractor says yes, the residents say no, that sometimes it's been every other week, but I'm hearing.
Okay, so that's a concern. I think that there has to be some way of monitoring that. And I do wonder if that's an issue. Is it possible to have it, because the trucks are going by there more than once a week? Because they've got to go by there to get to every other place.
Well, I'll confirm with the contractor what day of the week he dumps it, if it's just whenever they feel like it, or if it's on the same, you know, on the garbage pickup days everybody else has. We can have staff go out on the afternoons and just to confirm visibly if it's being picked up.
Right, but I guess my other question though is, especially in the higher volume times, which would be when the summer residents are there, or when there are concerns, could the contractor not dump it more than the once a week? I would want to be sure that they're dumping.
Somebody has
once
to
a-
pay for it. So right
I
now,
understand that, but I mean,
but it's not paid in the taxes. I guess I'm not trying to be hard to get along with. I'm just
No.
saying
No,
that
you're-
stating the obvious is
The
that
contract
it's for
has to be
one,
renegotiated.
you know, the contract is for once a week. The contractor to a certain extent is going beyond his thing because it's for curbside. He could be making people take it right out to the 127 or at least the Chamcook line now. He could say, well, that's what your contract is, where you make me have this dumpster. So they put the dumpster in, there's benefits to the contractor. It's easier to dump one dumpster than pick up 10 or 12 bins and hand toss them for sure. But it's that there isn't a contract for unlimited dumping, and that'd probably make it even worse, to be honest. If people knew that was happening, then everybody in town would be going out there. So the contract specifically, it's not on a per use, it's the contract is for one dump a week. Similar to the residential curbside.
Yeah, so the cameras themselves would show the dumping cycle though, wouldn't it?
So through your worship, yes, we do have a camera set up that is tracking the amount of waste that is, and it's actually, we have cameras at both Chamcook Line 3 and Rankin Mill Road. So we have been monitoring those, and it has shown in the videos that residents are dumping, it is being picked up. However, there are multiple vehicles that are beyond normal residences that are going in there and dumping and filling up the bins before residents actually get an opportunity to do so. And that's been the major ongoing issue at both locations, has been once spring, summer starts, everything gets dumped there, whether it's exercise bikes to construction material to broken toilets to everything gets dumped at these locations.
Council Bennett, then back to you, Council Bennett.
Thank you, your worship. On the frequency, I can guarantee you they're probably on the exact same cycle that we are. Our garbage gets picked up every week from our dumpster on my road, with the exception of recycle week. And on recycle week, we miss a week. Now, when I first moved in, because there was multiple new families moved in, the little dumpster that we had was overflowing every week. Halfway through the week, it was overflowing. One of the locals knew the contractor, contacted them, and the solution was to put a larger dumpster on there, and that's worked up until now. On recycle week, when we had to miss the week from being picked up, the dumpster is extremely full by the second week. But with the larger dumpster, it solved most of the issues, and you know, it's basically no cost. They only had a quarter dumpster, the 25 percent size dumpster, and we went to a half dumpster, and that, like I say, that solved our problem on Birch Cove View. I don't know if that would work out where you are, but it's not going to stop illegal dumping. You know, it just gives them more area to dump to.
More room, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely, Councilor Allen.
just a clarifying question, which I've just lost.
Happy birthday.
Okay, I'll come back to it.
All right, well, council, as much as I appreciate the dialogue and it's important, I think everyone should just take it away and maybe even do some research, see what other communities do, because as we could talk about it all day, the reality, what I'm hearing is council overall, we're hearing this isn't gonna work. Staff's come with a solution, and I just don't think as we talk this, we're gonna get any further this evening. So maybe just take it away. We can revisit it any time. Thank you, staff, for bringing forward a solution to try to change. But what I'm hearing is it might not be the one. Okay, let's keep moving because that was a long dialogue. Councillor Neal.
Thank you, your worship. The next reference is PWPS 240306, and the subject is the Wharf Approach Replacement CBCL Engineering Services Proposal. The background reads, now the council has chosen the hybrid infill steel pile option as the preferred design. We now need to move into the formal design and tendering phase. If approved, they will start mid-month with the tendering planned in August and construction starting in mid-October. The proposal of $343,700 for engineering does not include contract management, which will be discussed as we approach tender. The original high-level estimate was $290,000 for this phase. The remaining budget of $400,000 for project management should be easier to keep within budget, as we should not require daily supervision for certain phases of the project. The motion reads that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews accepts the CBCL Limited proposal for the Market Wharf Approach Trestle Replacement Hybrid Infill Structural Wharf Detailed Design and Tender Services Engineering in the amount of $343,700 plus HST, and I so move, your worship.
Seconder for that one. Got Councillor Michelle, we'll give it to. We'll open up a discussion on this one. Councillor Hurdle.
Thank you, worship. I'm not often a simple guy, except for when I ask questions that were just asked a second before that. But I'm reading through this and I think I understand what's asking here. It's basically just setting a bunch of a certain sum of money aside to manage the tender process and the engineering bid, but it's a significant number of money. So I just want to make sure that in layman's terms that I have a grasp of this. Can you kind of break this down, what this is actually asking us for?
Sure, Counselor. So basically for that fee of $343,700, they'll do all the permitting that's required, all the design phases, prepare the tender, evaluate the tenders, and prepare a recommendation to council at the end of it in a very short and concise summary.
That's perfect. Yeah, I know that we get caught in a feedback loop, but I wonder, just because of the amount of money, if this shouldn't be RFP'd itself.
So we investigated that. The problem we're concerned about is there's such a tight timeline. They've had the jump in against everybody else, so they have all the information. Others would likely be interested, but we've also run into the problem that you've announced how much the other bid is, so they won't. They're already at a deficit, you know.
Minus $1.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you'd be surprised, but it's but I'd be concerned. They've already put a significant amount of time and looked at this. I did put out a call because I thought this question might came up. Others think they could do it, but I still question how prepared they would be to be able to get this thing to tender and design,
Right,
to pick up from nowhere. They have some starting documentation where we identified the conceptual concept, and we have some information, but it's
Right.
probably not realistic to look for them to get this out in the same timeline. In my
The cost of a delay versus what the cost savings would be, could be
Yeah.
not worth the time. So thank you very much.
Councillor Hurl, I think the thing when I read through this is if something was missing, how would I ever know? Like it's just, you're not specialized enough to say, oh, did they think of this geotech? Like, you just don't know. The one thing that jumps out at me though is a construction award milestone of September 27th and then contractor mobilization October 11th. Like, that is, you got it, have your stuff here in 2 weeks for such a project. But I guess in some of these companies that do these projects, although it's a major project for the town of St. Andrews, for them, it's what they do day to day. So
Yeah, and this is a little different, say, than in-ground stuff. We have to bring in a lot of equipment. The initial will be tearing stuff apart, getting ready. So they could be out removing the old portion of the wharf while they're getting stuff in. The other thing with the hybrid option, the actual steel piles and stuff won't be put in until the spring anyway. And so the infill can be done anytime, so they can just move right along with that stuff. There's local pits that carry both gravel and rock material that can be used on that as we get started. So I'm not that concerned. I agree, it's close, but it's a significant enough project. And even if you award that late, they'll already know in advance who the low bidder was, and they'll start getting ready to accept it unless something goes through the loops, but they'll be ready before then to actually get the work.
Sounds good.
Start the project.
So for public information, it looks like the start date would actually be looking like October 11th, 2024, and the goal completion date would be May 23rd, 2025. Now, we all know it's a big project. Those are moving numbers, but that gives a rough timeline of what we're looking at today. Councilor Harrell.
Thank you, Worship. I know this isn't what's being asked before us today, but just one of the things that's kind of in the back of my mind is the fact that we saw definitely two, and there was a potential for a third very high wind event over the course of the winter time that was very damaging for the community. With a construction like this that happens, there's a lot of things that are sensitive to wind and wind damage, wave damage, erosion. Has CBCL factored that in to their cost approach and what they're looking at if we do see next winter multiple high wind and weather events?
Probably not, because you can't, it's crystal balling, which is beyond. In their estimates, they'd have like a 15 to 25% contingency built in. But again, I mean, the wind damage and water damage that happened came and left. The material on the ground was okay. It tends to be buildings and things that suffer more than what this project is. So I'm not that worried, but it's a good point, but it can't be outside of the normal contingency that you include in here. It's really hard to figure out what you need to put in there.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll call the question. Oh, Councilor Gubishal.
Just quickly, one thing, I'm a little tired, and bear with me. One thing that caught my interest was the review of the electrical lighting. One councilor's been here for quite a while, but myself, complaining about lighting over the years. It's never quite made the registers, but, be keeping an eye on the review of the lighting. I think, the Wharf is a very important place in the evenings in the summer. And lighting and the aesthetic should all match with the general character of the town. So having it lit up like a commercial wharf in some of the nearby communities isn't necessarily what's the best thing. So keep an eye on lighting, and just a plug for something for lighting for staff.
Thank you, Councilor Gubishal. I think you've sparked Councilor Hurdle.
Well, sorry to drag this out any longer than I have to, but would the aesthetic approach, the aesthetic dimension of the wharf still fall into the secondary municipal plan? Should it?
It doesn't really, the Wharf doesn't really fall in. I will bring in, I mean, and I'm not being hard to get along with you, it really doesn't. It's not that type of structure. But within their things, they said they'd be bringing 10%, 70%, and 100% design drawings. And we said we'd bring those to you to review and provide input. So if there's something you don't like or want to change at that point, you can. A lot of the stuff like Councilor Gubishal's bringing up and things can be kind of addressed really early. And then once you start getting that 70 and 90, you're pretty much committed. You're just kind of putting really the stuff in the ground, how many pound or how many metric tons of this and that, and how many meters of wire, et cetera. So there's still lots of chance for a council to evaluate what's there, and we will actively keep you involved in that.
Sounds good. Can't attract too many squids down there.
Yeah, sorry, through your worship. So during the discussion phase and the design phases that have already been shown to the public, it was always designed to have a similar look and feel and to maintain the look and feel of the wharf, and that was definitely brought forward from the public consultation. So we'll ensure as staff that, again, it's brought forward to council, and then the CBCL is aware.
Thank you. All right. I'm gonna call the question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That's been carried unanimously. So at this point, we are done our motions. We're in new business. There was the 3 items from the amended agenda. The first one would be Prince of Wales, a water line. That's by the Algonquin. Mr. Spear.
Thank you, Worship. So council's aware of this already, but I'll bring it to the the public's attention. Is there's a main valve that feeds a high pressure line up on Prince of Wales Street near the Algonquin that is failing. And it came about because we had other water leaks down that we did 3 water leaks in the last 2 weeks, and they had to go and shut this valve off, and they realized, whoopsie. And they dug down and saw that it was actually leaking out of it. So right now it's only at about 50% use, meaning they can't crank it wide open yet, which could be a problem in the warmer temperatures. But more realistically, this thing could go tonight, it could go in 6 months. But when it goes, you'd have to shut down half the town in order to get at it. So under controlled situation, we're able to shut down it'll still be a significant part of the town. It'd be 3 or 4 blocks around the Algonquin. Back in the day when they installed that, usually now they're putting multiple valves at every street corner, so you can isolate just, one section of street, but it wasn't done along there in the day. But part of this work will allow us to do more of that. And so what I need is I've been in discussions with the hotel, all along, so they are aware, and this date was, they said this is what kind of works for them, they can plan on it and change the reservations around or whatever to make this work. And so we've had a quote of $52,765 come in to do this work. That could come out of the utility capital reserve fund if needed. If needed, that there's money set aside there to do things like this. So if council's okay with that, under the procedural policy under the emergency, it's within my mandate to do it, but if you'd like, we can have a motion tonight in order to approve that, to know that you're aware of it, and that's a fixed price.
All right, council. So what I'm hearing is basically this line could go at any time. It could be a year, who knows? But either way, it is getting towards the end of its life cycle. It probably shut down water for a couple days, which should be planned with the hotel as well as the local residents. If it goes without it, it could be a couple weeks is what my understanding is by the time they get it all.
Well, it's under control right now. We're deciding when to go in as opposed to happening on a Friday afternoon. And our own crew cannot do it. It's too deep. We don't have the equipment to do it. And we really don't deal with high pressure lines. We can do little laterals to homes, but there's something significant is outside our ability. So we have to bring somebody in. It looks like the agreement, your worship, too, is that they think they can come in the day before and kind of get ready for it all, dig and expose everything, and then just shut the water off on the 12th. So hopefully it'll just be a 1 day without water for those residents. Even half a day to 3/4 of a day, to be honest, if everything goes well, but it's planned.
So you'd prefer a motion of council?
It's always
Okay.
better. It's
Mr. Knopper, do you have a motion of council? And we can see if we got to move or seconder to get on the table. You wanna state it?
Yeah, it's fixed price. Sorry, so the motion would be that to award Fairville Construction the contract to repair the water main and valve on Prince of Wales Street under emergency circumstances for $52,765 plus HST.
Or could I have a mover get it on the table? I've got Counselor Neal and seconded by Counselor Heenan. Discussion now, it's on the table. Sounds like it's gotta be done, Counselor Hurl. I see the look. You see the look. It's when you're in the doctor's office
Steam's
today.
gonna stick 'em out of the ears.
Or the eye doctor today.
Yeah. It was March 12th was the date, the Tuesday. I guess because that's, essentially the middle of the week, if we could shut the water off after the morning, or is it gonna be, give people a chance to get up, take their showers and things?
My counter to that will be the earlier we get it off, the earlier we get it done. So by supper time, it'll be done. We'll advise everybody. I appreciate that. And sometimes we do that, but it'll probably be a 7 sharp so we can make sure that by supper time, people are turned on. And so that'd be our hope. If council directs us that we go later, we can, but it wouldn't be staff's recommendation that we just do a hard run. People have to be, if they're prepared, we are going to hand delivering letters tomorrow if approved. Let everyone know what the plan is so they can prepare accordingly.
Thank you. That was my next question. I know we've had challenges around the shared responsibility of communication, and sometimes people don't get the message, and this would be a hard message not to get. If they're turning the water off on them in the middle of the day, that can really disrupt people's lives. So I just want to make sure that we do our due diligence.
One thing we got good communication on 90% of the time is water lines. I will say, water lines being what they are, we think we know every house that's going to be affected, but sometimes you turn a switch and then somebody calls in, you think, well, I'll be darned. We didn't know it went down that far. So we'll do our best. We'll put it out on social media. We'll say everyone's been affected, but we'll identify the streets and just say, don't be surprised. We're doing our best to identify exactly where it is. But when you're dealing with 80-year-old lines, you're just not necessarily sure what's attached underneath.
Line identification has improved significantly though, compared to back in the day. Can you turn your faucet on? Counselor Bennett.
Thank you, your worship. Staff, does this affect our school?
It shouldn't, no.
And does it affect the hydrants?
For the hydrants within the area, it definitely will affect them, but we have water tankers. And what the trucks could do is go down a couple of blocks and fill up at a hydrant that is working, but there'd be probably 2 or 3 hydrants within the affected zone for sure.
Thank you.
Question on the school for sure. Anyone else? All right, let's call the question. All in favor of approving, we'll call it this emergency repair, really. Please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That's no one. That's carried as well. So the next one is the washrooms around the trail. So it sounds like a few local contractors have got back on this project.
Yeah, so council, during the budget just a few months ago, we had estimated internally that it'd be about $140,000 to add that building, remembering we've already put in the water lines and stuff, so that's just for I think it was 16 by 10 building, 2 washrooms and a mechanical room. And the prices were significantly over that. So the 3 prices we have are 224,800, 172,244, and 175,555. But even during the budget process, all of that money was going to come out of the Tourism Development Fund, which at the end of last year had a balance of $396,000. So there's really no effect on surplus and deficits or anything like that. It's just a matter of if you want to continue with that project. And we're talking about that washroom that's near the exercise park. You've probably seen where it's been, the swath has been put in to be cleared for that. And so we're just looking, we don't have a good report for you tonight. It would be nice if you gave the approval, then we can get the contractor on, but I know, it's really short notice if you want to wait till next meeting. But it's, we want at least direction if you're willing to spend that much money to go with the washroom. Because with 3 competitive quotes, that's what we're going to get. I was talking to another community within New Brunswick who quoted on a similar building. It first came in at $650,000, same size. They ditched it, and then they came in at $250,000 and they were delighted. So, I mean, I think it's very high, but it's with the prices we're seeing in construction today, it may not be unreasonable, but it's at least double what I would have thought.
Mr. Knopper.
Council as well, we are going to approach our funding partners to see how we can get additional funding or coverage through this, but we have been successful in the past with our governing funding partners of attaining something. So we're going to do our best to at least get back some of our funds or help support this.
Thank you, Mr. Knopper.
Your worship, if I could please, seeing as that there was bathrooms built in this town last year by Katie's Cove, and I'm sure that their budget wasn't what we're talking. Maybe we ought to talk to Katie's Cove and see exactly how much theirs costs and who did it, and go to them and see if they'd be willing to build another one.
Yeah, it was higher.
Really?
Yeah. Counselor Heenan.
Could I have a clarification question, please? We've budgeted 140. Am I correct for this, right? And we have one that's coming in at 172. So it means that we're 32,000 is what the difference is. And at this time, I have to say, if we can afford it, we should have it, because everything's going up. Everything. And we do know what Katie's Coves cost. And let me tell you, this is pretty good. I mean, I know we did put 140, but when you have to pay 30,000 for a roof, I'm sorry, it's you got to put it in perspective. Do we really want the washroom is the question.
I do.
Do we? Yes.
And
Yeah, one of the number 1 complaints we get as a community is there's a couple, but one of the accessibility being what I've talked about. But another big one is the lack of washrooms. And if you talk to all the restaurants downtown and shops, they're very frustrated at the fact that there's only one. And if that's at a service for any reason, have be vandalism, which has happened or something, then we have a lack of options. Katie's Cove having one's improving, the Visitor Information Center having another. There's a few options, but that area of town, it's very limited. And I'm sure the campground probably deals with quite a few people that cut through to use theirs as well, which they pay for. Mr. Spear.
I just want to reiterate to your worship that this is out of the tourism accommodation levy, so it won't affect the tax of any resident anywhere. It's just simply that we've got a balance of pretty near $400,000 there. And if you think that's a good use over and above, if you think it's too expensive, like I said, we chased it, and it's the lowest we could come up with.
Sounds good. So, council, is there any benefit of going now? You'd prefer to get going now to get this underway for the season? Is that the goal?
it's the traditional that a lot of them are waiting for warmer ground to be able to do some things. So if we could get this going right away, they could start building on this because it's just a slab on grade.
Okay, is there any reason why you would not go with the low bidder in this case then, since it's new to
No.
council? Okay, so maybe we'll bring it on the table and council can debate. You always have the option of tabling it too, right, council? So I don't know who the companies are and who the lower bidder is, but if you want to share that information.
Sure. So we had 3 bids, your worship, one from Harbortown Builders for $224,800, one from Hannon's Construction Limited for $172,244, and one from Legacy Builders, which is out of St. Stephen, for $175,555. And so I would
Yeah.
propose that we go to Hannon's Construction Limited for those washrooms for $172,244.
Okay, could I have a mover for that? I've got Councillor Heenan, seconded by Deputy Mayor Agnew. Discussion on this particular motion. We kind of had one. All right, I'll call the question. Those that would like to vote in favor of awarding that the construction of the washrooms to Hannon Construction, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? None. Okay. And the last one is the arena sign. Over to you again, Mr. Spear.
Thank you, worship. So council, as part of the budget this past year, we set aside $65,000 to upgrade, or to put a LCD sign up there to do things. And surprisingly, we kept it within budget. So much so that we might be able to do a modification to the big sign, well, an additional modification. During the original work of the sign, we excluded the Heather Curling Club from having their name put on the new sign, you know, with the sandblasted signs, which was a bit of an oversight, but they do have a sign along the fascia here. And so there's a cost, it's about $4,000. Those signs come out of a special place. It's a high-end sign, but it'd still keep it within budget. The benefit to the town would be, as you know, we've got some leaking going on in the council chambers. We think it's not their fault, but we think it might be coming through the sign. So we'd like to be able to remove this one, put that one out there, and then hopefully that'll stop this weird leaking we're getting that we can't seem to locate. I still have to discuss with the Heather Curling Club, to be honest, but it's still within the budget of $65,000. But to add that sign, it's about a $4,000 ask. So I just want to see if you're okay with us proceeding with that.
Okay, and just to reiterate, it is within the budget of the sign. And they are, of course, a major tenet of this complex. You know, the Chamber of Commerce is on there, for example, and they're not. So, you know, I see where they're coming from. They want to be on the sign. Do we need a motion of that, or you just need consensus for that? Because it's within budget, right?
This is your worship, because it's already within our budget.
Quick show of including the Heather Curling Club on the sign. Anyone? Yeah, that's everybody. You're good to go. Thank you very much, Mr. Spear. We're now going to move ahead to, let me just jump back here. That's the end of new business. So we are question period now. Maybe do a call. Is there anyone on the line first, Mr. Nopper?
For those that are present online, on Zoom, do you have a question for council? Please raise your hand. Second call for those that are on Zoom. Please raise your hand if you have a question. Gonna say no, and I've also received no questions through email.
And in the audience, any questions or comments this evening? All right. Well, we'll move ahead now. At this point, it will be Councillor and Deputy Mayor's comments. Any member of Council or Deputy Mayor have anything they'd like to add? Councillor Ware.
Yes, I was doing a bit of research today and I thought I could get the information, but evidently the New Brunswick property assessment provides each local government or other taxing authority with a portion of the real property list listing the property within its boundaries and how it's zoned and how much it's assessed at. I don't know whether that's provided in some reform or not. Hopefully it is.
So we do get the tax rolls every year and we have them in the office and anyone's free to look at them.
Yeah, no, that's what it said, you
Yeah,
know.
and so we can print that off. It's, I've asked about providing electronic format, but the department said, don't you dare, so.
I
but
didn't know
peop-
whether they were allowed, you were allowed to
Yeah,
release them or not.
that is a public document, but only in paper format.
Because it said, you know, I can go look at them at any time during reasonable hours. And the reason I bring it up is for the first time in a couple of years, I looked at my tax bill item by item. I have property that is assessed at $1.61.6 as a mill rate. Other residential, I know it is, it's land in excess of what is required for the use and enjoyment of my house. But, you know, $1.61 is a hefty rate, but we incurred a 14.7% increase in our taxes this year, which is astronomical. And that's in the municipal rate. Overall, we had a 12.4% increase in our property taxes. And I just want to build a matrix on Excel or something that I can take all these rates and all these zones and put it into a spreadsheet. And if I want to change a number or see what the impact of a number is, you know, it.
And depending on your exercise, counselor, they do provide us a summary of where how our assessment bases were come up with, but it's fairly general. It's more than just a number, but it's only 4 or 5 numbers. So it depends how eager you are, but an accountant, maybe you're really eager to go through lots of data and figure it out.
It sounds like a good Friday night for 2 accountants, doesn't it?
Yes.
A bottle of scotch.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other member of council? Well, good, Deputy. Oh, Councilor Han.
Yes, I'd just like to say a special thank you to CHCO for putting in our new camera system and our new communication system. It was a lot of work and a lot of, I'm sure, hours spent. And I think it deserves a big thank you on behalf of council because it makes it much better. It makes it much easier. And I think it's a great improvement. And plus the fact that Vicky and Patrick, it's their 1-year anniversary today. So happy anniversary.
I told you they'd make it. Deputy Mayor Akaji.
First of all, I'd like to thank you. There's a drumming at the United Church this Wednesday, which will be March the 6th, from 6 to 9 p.m. And this is Sebastian Rhodes, and he's doing the drumming workshop. So if you're interested, please come. It would be nice if we gave a donation because we're trying to buy more drums. So everybody can have a drum with which to beat upon. So if you and so it's a worthwhile experience. Sebastian has a lot of energy and a lot of usefulness for the drums, and it's well worth it if you're looking for relaxation or whatever. I think he does some of that. So I missed the last one, but this one is this Wednesday, and it's at the United Church because it's more of a space and acoustically, I think it'll be really good. We offered the arena, but and thank you, council, for offering it. But the acoustics here is not as good as at the United Church. So I thank the United Church for having them on this Wednesday. They're also, because it's Easter and Lent, there are Lenten breakfasts on Sunday morning that Ada and Carl Wood provide by the Anglican Church, just by donation again, but nice breakfasts if you'd like to join them. Usually they're at 9 o'clock on Sunday morning till about 9:45, 10 o'clock. They serve a nice breakfast, and I didn't inquire as to what it was this week, but each week it's a different menu and it's really good. This Saturday as well is a quiet day, which will be led by name went out of my head too.
Give me a hint.
Kids all went to school here. No. There's a minister there as well.
Here in town.
Bob Cheatley.
Ah.
He's doing it on
It
Saturday.
was.
Deputy Mayor?
It was Bob Cheatley.
Bob Cheatley.
Is your mic on?
It is now.
Thank you.
Do I have to start all over with the drumming workshop? It's from 6 to 9 on Wednesday, March the 6th, at the United Church, and everybody is welcome to come. The Lenten series are breakfasts on Sundays from 9 till about 10 o'clock, and Ada and Carl Wood are doing it. The Quiet Day is being offered by Bob Cheatley on this Saturday from 9 till 3. It's just part of the Lenten services. I want to thank Matthew Dixon for, again, showing his movie for schizophrenia. It was well attended, even though the weather was terrible. It was well attended with about, I'd say, 30, 40 people. And he's really promoting awareness for schizophrenia. And he's been dealing with it a lot of his life. So it's really nice to see him sharing this. I know it takes a lot out of him, but we thank him for doing that and bringing awareness for schizophrenia. I think those are all the things that I wanted to say. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. And I know
I'll
your
turn
mic
my
was
mic
off because my wife texted me and said all I can hear is your breathing on the. I'm a heavy breather. Okay. She never holds back punches. So there you go. Is there any other member of council? I just wanted to recognize two counselors. And is it Goggins? Is that what it is? Goggins or Gog? So Counselor Gumashell completed the 3rd annual Goggins Challenge, which is a fundraiser for suicide prevention actually in the region. And what that consisted of is he ran 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours, which I did one of the legs and I couldn't walk the next day. So the fact I did actually, and that's why I brought it up so you'd recognize. But in all reality, and I know you had a lot of members of the community join you. I was surprised. I thought you'd be all alone. No disrespect, but you had other people with you. Yeah, well, good for you. It's a good cause, and it speaks to your determination. That's not a small feat. And then Councilor Harlan, I know it was kind of made fun of, I guess I'd say earlier, but it is your birthday celebration. I don't know if you like being big on council meetings, but you finally did hit 30, so congratulations. But thank you for spending your birthday evening with us. I'm sure there's probably a lot more exciting things you could do, but I know you're passionate about council, so thank you for being here. Council, thank you to everybody. So at this particular time, if I go back to the agenda, we have no reason to go into closed session for this particular meeting. So at 8:45 PM, I'll be looking for a mover to adjourn. Deputy Mayor Akchi and seconded by Councilor Blanchard won that one. All in favor of adjourning? Have a good evening, everyone.